Hello, my name is Chance Marie Worley, and this video presentation on April 16th, 2023 is for my Principles of Procurement class, Logistics 228 for Professor Collins class. For this presentation, I chose Egypt as a country to talk about cultural differences and practices. The information I will talk about today I found on Commerce CEO Global.com in a post called or named Egypt Language, Culture, Customs, and Etiquette. So I chose this country because I find Egypt very interesting, both ancient and modern day. Not only did the ancient Egyptians build pyramids and beautiful cities, but their modern ancestors are also able to thrive in a desert community and bring great products out of it, such as coffee, tea, and textiles. Everybody at some point has heard about Egyptian silk sheets from someone they know or from a media source like a movie, TV, or a book. So when researching the cultural practices, I found out that nepotism is viewed very positively there. Respect is both a right and an obligation, and a man's word is his bond, and should he go back on it, it would bring dishonor not only on him but his entire family. Also, social class is very important, and there's very little social mobility. They have a social class, they have an upper, a middle, and a lower class. And status there is defined more about your family background than absolute wealth. When meeting, you should follow the lead of the Egyptian you are meeting, and handshakes are customary among those of the same sex. When a man and a woman meet, the woman must extend her hand first, but if she does not, then the man will bow his head and show of greeting. They prefer to do business with people that they know. So if you're trying to get a business deal going, you should be prepared to extend a considerable amount of time to cultivate a personal relationship. However, if you are offered a drink, coffee, tea, anything, even if you don't partake in the drink, you should never reject it or decline the drink, because if you do, it is seen as a rejection on the person. Egyptians will judge you by your appearance, so you should dress appropriately. For men, this means wearing a good conservative suit, at least to the first meeting, and avoid wearing visible jewelry on the face or around the neck. And women should cover themselves appropriately with skirts and dresses covering the knees, and sleeves should cover most of the arm. The differences between the U.S. and Egypt for cultural practices are many, but I'm going to talk about just a couple of them. So, before I talked about how in Egypt nepotism is very positive over there. Here in the U.S., it's not seen as positively. The people that nepotism is good for say an uncle hires their nephew, so it's good for them. But if here in the U.S., if there's someone that's more qualified than that nephew that gets hired, it's not going to be good for them. But in Egypt, everybody kind of understands that family is everything. Also, in the U.S., when meeting someone new, most of it will shake the hands, whether or not it's like a woman meeting a woman or a woman meeting a man. Another thing that I learned on the website was that Egyptians do not really like saying the word no. So if they just don't say anything at all, then it's like it's negative basically. But in the U.S., we have no problem saying no. So if someone offers you a drink or something, you can say no, and the person that's offering you the drink most likely will not get their feelings hurt. Also, in the U.S., a lot of people will wear like earrings, rings, necklaces, and expensive clothing, because they want their parents to show, hey, I have the money, I have this. So their wealth is sometimes more important than like their family background. You could also come from a really bad background here in the U.S. and still have status in certain circles if you have the wealth. Also, another distinction is if someone in your family does not, like, say they make a deal and they don't hold it up, that's not going to dishonor the rest of your family in most situations. Now, if your family member is a high profile person in the community, that could, but for most of us, it's not going to affect us. Researching a country's culture and their practices would help conduct a procurement transaction, because you can avoid any societal potholes. So say I went to Egypt and I was trying to set up a business deal. If I went in there and I just had on, a nice little, let's say, dress, but the dress is sleeveless. Here in the U.S., that's not necessarily a bad thing. There, that would not be good as a female. They want me to, cover most of my arms. Or if I were to go and be like, oh, no, I don't like tea, and not even just accept the cup, whether or not I take a drink out of it, that's going to be seen as disrespectful. Also, I learned that you're going to be talking to the person that has the most seniority when you're doing business over there, and they also do appreciate if someone on your team is older, because they do appreciate the age and the wisdom. It's also important to understand that the cultural differences and practices, because if you're traveling to a country and you're doing and you're there for a few days before your meeting, how you act and how you behave can also be brought into whether or not they do a business deal with you, because you never know if someone that maybe you acted poorly, and you never know if that person might know the person that's interviewing you, or that person might video the deal that you're doing. What I learned in doing this presentation and the research is that it's important that you always research how people act. They're not going to act exactly like you. And just because they don't act exactly like you doesn't mean that how they act is wrong. It's just different. It's how they were brought up. And you showing the proper forethought and researching it and acting according to how their customs and everything work will show respect to them and show them that you're willing to work with them on that. Thank you.